Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Critting Your Role, an actor's guide to role playing. This is a series where I use my training as an actor to give you guys some tips and tricks on how to role play your character better. Thus far, we've had 2 weeks of me talking about physical things that you can do. Now I'd like to get into what I consider like acting theory. And this is a practice that I learned when I first learned it on stage when I was doing musicals and theater productions, both in high school and with community theater groups and things like that. And then it was reinforced when I got to college. And that is the use of pronouns. Oh no, he's going to talk about pronouns. He's going to talk about represent. No. It's much more simple than that. One of the things that a lot of actors do, a lot of beginning actors do, is they refer to their character as a separate person. If I'm playing, Harold Hill in The Music Man, I'll be talking to the director, and the director will go, "Hey, Jody, what's your motivation for this scene? Why are you saying this?" Well, Harold, in this scene, Harold is really trying to get under Marion's skin, and so the whole scene is him doing all these different things to try and keep her off balance. That works fine, but it differentiates you between you, the actor, and Harold Hill, the character that you're attempting to portray. Now, I can go into a lot more detail about the idea that, contrary to popular belief, acting is not as much putting a role on as it is stripping off your own experiences and your own mannerisms, and then letting another person's experiences and mannerisms just kind of shine out very naturally. That's how I've always viewed acting. I'm not really going to get into that. All I'm going to get into is the idea of when you are speaking about your character, get used to using the word I, me, when referring to the character. One of the things that I do in my games when I'm DMing is I don't call the players by their actual names. I will call them by their character names. It helps to build immersion. And it also kind of forces them to think a little more in their character. Now, I do have some people that are not quite comfortable enough to completely go, I am my character, and so they will still say, things like Avok does this, or, Fade does this. And that's perfectly fine, but something that I think everyone should try is, instead of going, Fade does this, speaking in the third person, go, I do this. I'm thinking this. By simply changing the pronoun, it will change how your brain interprets what you're doing. You are no longer interpreting another person's actions for a group. You're explaining your own actions. So something as simple as saying, I want to pick the lock because I believe there's treasure behind there, and one of my motivations is, if it's shiny and worth something, I want it. Things like that. Even when I write out my personality traits and flaws and things like that, I write them in the first person, so that if I read them off to the dungeon master, I use personal pronouns, so that I feel like I am being the character. It really does change how you treat the character. It really does change how everyone else will treat you, because as soon as you start using personal pronouns when they address you, they will address you as your character subconsciously. When you say things, well, I charge the door, they'll sit there, Binwin, what are you doing? Or, I run up, I use my boots of spider climb, and I run up the wall as everyone else is getting attacked by the lava monster. Percy, why would you do that? Once you start speaking as your character, instead of narrating what your character does and says, it really changes how people will treat you and how you will treat the character. This is one of those things that takes a little bit of time to get used to. It does feel very uncomfortable at first, especially for people that are not used to taking on multiple roles. I can tell you right now, when I was doing shows regularly, I answered, I think in one show I answered to 4 different names. Because I was playing a couple different characters on stage, and then they would give me various nicknames like Hairboy. Don't ask. And I just got used to it. Now I kind of answer to just about anything, and have learned to kind of interpret through tone of voice and eye contact and things like that if people are actually referring to me or not. But it took a while for me to get to the point where I could say, well, I am feeling this way. My character, I am doing this because I feel like this. It will feel weird because in all actuality, you personally don't feel that, but you're taking the character and you're letting them speak. You're taking the character, you're kind of throwing off the mantle that is you, that is all your neuroses, that is all your experiences and everything that have turned you into the person that you are. You're taking that off and kind of throwing that away and letting the character themselves kind of come out in emotion, in motivation, in things like that. So, it seems like a minor thing, but it's a major change. It's something that takes getting used to. But once you get used to it, it's very, very difficult to go back, and it will improve your ability to role play 100%, especially when you combine it with other things like posture, like we talked about, or supporting your voice. When you do that, you really start to create this full character instead of just these little bits and pieces where you narrate what a character does. When you actually step in there and go, I am doing this, I am firing my bow, I am running along the wall and drawing my sword, I am going in and lopping off the head of that character, I am lying on the ground bleeding out, please save me. It's really going to help you create a personal connection with your character, and it's going to help other people at the table have connections with you and your character as well. Now, again, this is something that does make some people very uncomfortable. It's weird. It's a little bit silly. So make sure that if this is something that you decide to do, which I highly recommend, that you don't impose this on other people that don't want to do it. If they're new to role-playing, they may not feel comfortable doing it. Again, as much as you can focus on using those personal pronouns yourself, don't force it on anyone else. Allow other people to use third-person narration as much as they want until they get comfortable enough to use first-person pronouns. But I really feel that it's one of the most useful ways to get yourself into the mind of the character, especially when you start talking about motivations and things like that, instead of from where Kavath is really motivated by this. Instead of saying things like this, go, I am really motivated by this. I am motivated by the death of my parents and them being slaughtered in front of me. That changed me. That turned me into the person that I am today. I fight against evil because I wasn't able to save them. That's a very different statement, and it really personalizes the character itself. So in the comments, this really isn't something that you can do outside of the table. Unlike the other things I've talked about, this is something you got to do at the table. And again, the first time you do it, it's going to feel silly and it's going to feel awkward. And some people may even tease you about it. Some people may get upset about it. Feel free to have conversations with your dungeon master, with your other players, going, hey guys, I'm going to try something a little bit different tonight. I want to try role-playing my character a little differently, so this is what I'm going to do. Let me know what you think. Feel free to have that conversation because it's an important conversation to have. But in the comments below, Let me know how it turned out. Did it feel weird for you to do it first? Did it become more comfortable as you did it? Did you surprise yourself with some of the decisions that you made while you were using personal pronouns? Did it change how you think about your character? All right, let me know in the comments below. Obviously, if you like this, feel free to hit the like button, and if you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. Otherwise, that is all for me, and I will see you guys next time. Okay? Bye-bye.